Hello, I'm Jason Primrose,
And I'm Jeff Zakarski.
and welcome to Gentlemen, the number one podcast for open hearted leadership.
Nice. Well, before we get started, if you want more in the form of community, you can find us pretty much anywhere on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube for all the video versions, and even Clubhouse by searching Gentlemen, two words, the podcast. Um, Jason, I know that this conversation is actually about love and being, but you were mentioning you had a meditation this morning and that you got a lot out of it. And I thought that would be I mean, for people to get to know us a little bit better, that'd be amazing to share. Um, like, what did you take on? What did you get? Or what's important that you want to actually share here?
Uh, well, it is something that's been building up. So something that I realized, I did a fear visualization,
Mm.
um, like earlier this week, and what came up was allow me to be enough. And that is so rooted in just my being and being love. And I realized that fear, while it gets in the way of me being and me being love, it's a reminder also for me to be and to be love. And so I was misinterpreting the fear, or maybe I was trying to push the fear away as if it was bad, and I came to realize that it was a reminder. And in the visualization, it's like a reminder to it's a remembrance of like all that's possible, of all that life and experience has to offer. um and so when they talked about like the squeezing of the chest and uh, uh, inviting the fear to speak and saying, what does it want to say? And when it said, allow me to be enough, it's like, it felt like this really, really intense release of that's all. That's it. It doesn't have to be complicated. There doesn't need to be a story. It's just allow me to be enough. And I think that feeds into everything that I'm doing right now and that I'm up to and that I want to create for myself. So fear was already the theme of this week. And then I did a visualization exercise around like vision, dreams, like how I see myself in the future. And and so part of this exercise is to be in touch with my being every morning, um and source like the love for myself that I know exists. And so the visualization this morning, I ended up on a beach, probably like in Spain or something like that. Uh and I love the water. I love the water. I love the beach. So I'm not surprised that it was there. And I love, you know, Europe too. So so I walk up and there's this beautiful home. So I'm envisioning my dream home, right, in my future self. So it's this beautiful like Spanish style home. It wraps around this gorgeous pool. Um and I think it's 2 stories, but it's like kind of in the middle of this like jungle-ish place. And so I walk up and there's these beautiful like wooden doors, and I knock on the door, and I open the door, and it's me with this like just like effortless, like robe-ish thing, with a kimono and stuff like that, like how I am comfortable. But I have a baby in my hand. I have my son in my hand. And and then another child runs up behind me, and I think it was a boy, and it's like on my leg, and so I invite myself in, and and then I'm leading the kids. It's so cute. And then my husband comes and he takes he takes them and like goes away, and then my mom's like on the couch, and so um and then there's this big living room, and it's got like nice furniture, and there's a wall of like interpretive art for Lost Children of Andromeda, and like a big portrait of my mom. And um so then the visualization was like 11 minutes, so then there's like, okay, start to close out, and like what did everyone, so as I'm leaving, my mom is like, we're going to make it. And my husband is like, no, no, sorry. And then I say to myself, just keep going. But the thing that really got me um was when my husband said, I can't wait to meet you. And I was just like, wow, this is possible. Um and to just see it so clearly, and to it was really insane. Um and I think it's just there's this fear that I connected to around being loved and being seen, and to know that I will be, that I am loved and am seen, like, even though it's here, even though it's not with me, it's here. I saw it, I felt it. um so that was my morning, and I can't talk about it without crying, because it was so powerful. It was so powerful. So thank you for inviting me to share it with everyone. Yeah, it was very special.
Mm, thank you for sharing it. Um, I notice there's so many places that I want to go with it, and I just get how tender and heart centered it is for you.
Mhm.
And I think for me, the easiest thing to do in this is, great. Now that we see it, let's go build it and get right back to the doing of
Mm.
it. Like, but what I notice is that for me, that's usually inside of the thing that you actually mentioned around your fear, like um, the not enoughness and all of the other fear based stories. Like, get back to the doing. I got to get this as quick as possible, as opposed to just being with the absolute beauty of what this is for you. Um, so I don't want to do that. What I want to do is acknowledge you for sharing, because that's amazing. Like, touched me super deeply, got me access to so many places of myself. And outside of getting to doing anything, I'm wondering how seeing this is going to impact even just tomorrow for you.
Mm. Today, I still have a whole day ahead. Um,
Yeah, today.
I don't know. I just feel so different. I remember when I first came out of Atlas, the redesign, and like those first few weeks, people were saying there was like an ease about my being, and I feel that returning
Mm-hmm.
with these meditations, with our conversations, um, and with the kind of support structures that I'm moving into. And so the angst that has been boiling over the last 3 months, like I would say through March, uh, I'm inviting ease into like my life experience alongside with diligence. And so I think that having the vision doesn't necessarily change what I do, but it shifts who I am about what I'm doing.
Mm.
Um, and so to do from a place of love rather than from a place of fear of not having, like as if the things that I want are not with me right now. I think
Mm.
that's the biggest change.
It's beautiful. Um, so what do you expect will you said there'd be ease and you'd be ease and diligent about what's ahead. Doesn't necessarily change what you do, but how do you think that will shift the experience of your life?
Mm. Um, I think presence will play a huge part of it. Um, because I can be present to both love and fear at the same time, and fear often wins when I'm sourcing the past or what I think I don't have that I want for my future, and love wins when I'm present to me, like all that I am, and what I have access to, which is my being. Like that's the one thing I can always choose. Um, I have wow, I've never even said that out loud before. Um, but that's the one thing I can always choose, and I feel like that will be a really 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 big change for me.
Well, I'm excited for you. And I'm excited for anybody listening that gets to also witness this because
Yeah.
um, the, I I've spent a lot of my time not recognizing how that choice is available to me in these last 4 years, specifically from taking on the work, and I can't wait to be in um, this next conversation. Spoiler alert with Adam Quiney, who will be coming up in the episode after, just a little bit down, just after this one, actually, to continue this level of conversation. Um, Man, I know it's going to be an amazing conversation, and it's just going to be the next, not even logical thing, but the next um, transformational conversation about how to bring love and being into the world. And even just getting what I'm really present to also, in the what type of coaching that I work, the type of coaching that I do, um, what I know is that when people show up from fear, they're so much more likely to elicit a fear response from somebody else. But
Mm.
when they show up as love, when they show up as who they are, when they show up as their natural state of being, they're just as likely to elicit the love and the being and the essence of who the other person is. So I came into this conversation, and if I rewind even how I did this intro, I bet you that there is a distinct difference from how I looked, how I held myself, and how I spoke. Um, that is different than now, because as a result of you sharing your vision, your love, your being, like it actually invited me to drop everything on my side. And I even feel it here. So I acknowledge you for that, because that had me be able to do that again, which is so great, because what that means is that every person you talk to, every person that I talk to past this moment,
Mhm.
if we're in love and being, is actually going to be invited into love and being as well, which then every person that they go and have a conversation with or interact with at the grocery store, at the gas station, on another podcast, like that's going to happen, and that ripple effect just goes. So it's the power and choice of creating love and being, that in the moment, every moment that I choose love and being, and then I give that gift to somebody else is actually a larger contribution than I can even fathom because of the ripple effect of where it can go. Like I choose one thing and I impact thousands that I will never ever even know about.
Ugh, the impact. I love that. I really love that you accept the invitations, you know? And
Mm.
I'm and that I think is such an important part of this conversation too. It is um receiving an invitation to drop into yourself and then
Oof.
accepting the invitation. And then
Mm.
not only accepting the invitation but then embodying that level of the presence and experience and then inviting someone else. And so
Mm.
I want to talk about accepting the invitation to love and being, because we started these conversations, and I think the core of it was around what we weren't seeing and in the world, right, in terms of unity, conversation, and love. And so I'm just curious what your thoughts are about, like, even your own personal experience about when you decided to start accepting the invitation. um you know, what had you do so? What happened? Especially to drop into yourself.
Mm. Well, um, one of the important things about me dropping into myself is to allow everything that is there to be there,
Mm,
and stop hiding the parts of me that I don't want people to know
mm,
is happening. And even in this conversation, I've had several choice points where I could choose to stay surface, where I could choose to um, probably say something in a that probably has an intention of people like liking me or thinking that I'm smart,
mm,
because that's what my fear is all about. Um, don't don't call me out on being stupid. Like I will make it sound so good,
mhm,
um, and I'll make it long winded and all this stuff. So the idea of when I learned to do it was, man, I'm 41 years old, and I'm proud to say I'm 41, and um, it wasn't really until I was about 36, 37 that I really started to yearn for something more. And what got me to that point, I think people there's a statement that's out there that says until the pain is enough, people aren't willing to change. Until the pain was enough, I wasn't willing to step into something new and different.
mm,
Um, and in this case, the pain for me looked like repeating a lot of my patterns, repeating a lot of my patterns in work, repeating a lot of my patterns in romantic relationships. But what I really learned is the higher um, thing at play was just never feeling fully loved for who I was. And the way that that played out in my relationships is um, I would try so hard to be somebody that somebody wanted me to be. And so every relationship I was in, I was actually uh, stepping further away from who I was. And then that relationship would end, and I would come back to um, being single. And I'd be like, oh, let's see what it's like to be myself. And then I would get into another relationship. And then would get far enough in the relationship and realize, oh, wow, I don't feel like myself. And it was doing that like 25 times, where I finally got to the point where I said, okay, I see it now. No more. I don't actually know what to do. Like, who am I?
mm,
Like, who am I? And I think I'm like, oh, well, I'm a person that does tech. I'm a musician. Like, yes, these are all the things that I do, but who am I? And I didn't know the answer to that. So if you really want to talk about this like existential moment, this pivotal moment for me is when I recognized that I didn't actually know who I was.
Mm.
And so the last number of years has been working with people and really getting to know who that is, and not developing it in a way that is like, oh, it wasn't who I am, and now I need to go out and find this thing. I need to find out more of who I am. The game that I was playing was actually, how do I drop all the things? How do I see what all the things are that are actually in the way of being naturally who I am? And who I am is a being of love. Who I am is brotherhood, heart, wisdom, bravery, grace, power, magic. Magic is the one that I sometimes have a harder time in fully owning, because
Mhm.
I guess I have some judgment around what magic is. But that's who I am.
Mhm.
And how I'll wrap this up, and if I missed a part of the question, please ask it again. But um, who I am is that. And what I know is that when I show up from love and being as those things, man, life is great.
Mm. I started, when you said I didn't know who I was like, I mean, I felt that in my chest. Um,
Mm.
because I guess I can't imagine you not knowing who you are, because I know who you are so well. It's like, um, but what I heard in what you said is that you accepted the invitation.
Mm.
You accepted the invitation when the pain had gotten so great that that was the one that you wanted, because other times it was an invitation to a pattern, an invitation to the same, an invitation to a new career, a new job, a new city, um and and this time it was an invitation to yourself. um
And it was an invitation to love.
yeah, yeah. Wow. Well, what's one of the biggest, thank you for that thank you for that story too, because it was,
Mm.
uh I just want to acknowledge your openness, and I feel we're in a different place, um
Mm.
even than normal. So it just reminds me of, like, it just reminds me of so many, in the span of 9 days, so many things that we experienced together, um
Mm.
and why this is so important, and the vision for this podcast in general is just, you are embodying that, right now, um in glorious ways. um what's the biggest what do you feel like is the biggest thing that's shifted for you as a result of of accepting this invitation?
Um, wow. Um, the biggest. Um, well, I think that I want to lay a little foundation, because I do know that we're going to talk about it in the next episode too, is around the idea of growth and transformation.
Mm.
Um, my old way of doing things was to just try to do things harder.
Mm.
If I did that, then things would um, get done. And on the other side of it is transformation, which is actually where everything really happens. Like, growth is like, okay, I move in this little piece over here, but transformation is I move this little piece and everything changes. And I think that's what you're asking for me. It's like, what's the thing that it got me? Like, what's the biggest impact? Um,
Mm.
I don't know if I can choose one, but I am going to limit it to two. So, one is peace.
Mm.
And the second is intuition,
Ooh, I like
like
those.
sharpening
Mm-hmm.
my intuition and using it, not just seeing some. I think that's the piece. It's the sharpening and developing of the intuition, which has always been there.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's not intuition. Maybe it's actually self-trust, because the self-trust is the component that allows me to take action on my intuition. Because I think I've been a person for a lot of my life that has had a lot of really great ideas, but the self trust was in the way of executing on the things that felt intimidating or scary for me. And so, being at peace with myself, with who I am,
Mm-hmm.
and being self trust in the moment of, I am a wizard. I have visions that I can sort of bend around time. I swear I am a magician in one way, shape, or form. But it was that self trust that kept me from actually taking action and putting all the pieces together, bringing all the people together to create something that was bigger um, than me. And now, as a result of it, that's the game I'm playing. I'm playing the game that the impact is so much more than just what I experience on a daily life. The impact is, I don't even know what the impact is. I
Yeah.
see part of it, but part of it happens outside of what I even, like, something that's happened a week ago is still happening because of something that I did, because I acted upon intuition, or I took this insight and this awareness and I created new action. And all of a sudden, something in the quantum field uh, changed. So it actually sounds like I actually get to use my magic in the world.
Ooh,
That's cool.
all of that. I get to use my magic in the
That's
world.
so cool.
Playing a game so big you
Oh.
don't even know the impact. Like, wow. That's awesome. Oh my gosh.
Wow. Thanks for
Yeah.
that. I didn't actually see that until, well, not in this way, at least.
Mm.
Hmm. And that gets me really present to why we have these conversations, because we can have a similar conversation, but I get something new out of it just simply by allowing myself to accept the invitation into a bigger conversation for me, into a bigger conversation for somebody else. Because I spent so much of my life thinking I was accepting the invitation, which was just a bunch of BS. I was saying yes, but I wasn't there. I wasn't present. I wasn't in the intimacy of it. So from the outside, you probably saw me and said, "Oh yeah, that guy's a unconditional yes. He has all these communities, all these friends. His life looks great."
Mm.
But like that's all I let you see. And now I'm committed to actually seeing more of that and actually what's really behind that, by accepting the information, or accepting the invitation to not only drop into my head, which is what I used to do, but to drop in, like you were pointing to, dropping into the heart and the body and the spirit, and having a conversation from that place.
Hmm. Wow. This is such an epic, like, just just to be doing this together. I'm,
Mm,
I'm very, I'm very, I'm very, I have a lot of gratitude. Um,
mm,
I have a lot of gratitude for you, for this idea, for just, yeah.
mm,
Um, we're really like I mean, we're getting past the point of like unlearning and to the point of reconditioning, like actually
mm,
being ourselves, our original selves, about the things that show up now, about circumstances, about triggers. Um, so I think it's really interesting too when you bring love and being into a into like even a world or an ecosystem that that is looking for an invitation, but maybe hasn't gotten it yet. Um,
Ooh.
so I feel like the more love and being that we put out into the world, the more we invite people into it. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's for everyone.
It is. And it's inviting people into consciousness about, and I'll just use something that seems pretty relevant right now around vaccines.
Mm.
So a lot of people are for it, a lot of people are against it, and there's this concept of herd immunity. And I think, I mean, I'm not a scientist, but the philosophy is basically once enough people um, are immune, then all of a sudden it starts to shift the human condition and how it exists in the world. And the same thing is true for love and being.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people that have done a lot of research that understand this work better than I do, that say, when 2% of the world, 2%, not a lot, 2% of the world is operating from love and being and in consciousness, that it will actually start to create herd immunity, or I guess the herd condition
Mm-hmm.
that starts to then have the dominoes tip over. And so then, as a result of 2% of the world operating as consciousness, that it will actually start to heal the rest of us. It'll start to heal the last 7 generations, and it will set up the next 7 generations. And I'm like, I want to be part of that.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want that? Like, can you imagine that that's the thing that's written on your gravestone? Like, I healed humanity, or I played a part in healing humanity simply because I chose to be in love and being. Um, because I lived a life of who I am, and I
Mm.
did the work to
Ooh.
heal my fears. Like,
Ooh. Because I lived a
you
life
know,
who I am. Can we just like stop? Because I lived a life of who I am.
hmm
And I think healing the fears means inviting them to join you on the journey of life. It means listening to them. It means not punishing
hmm
them or putting them in a corner. Um, yeah. I watched a video this morning on the shadow,
hmm
which I think in season 2 we should go into these like different pieces of the
yeah.
of transformational work. But the shadow, the assertion was that the shadow is actually the brightest light, and that the shadow is truth, and that when you ask the
Mm.
shadow always tells the truth. And I was like, ooh, the shadow. And the shadow is the thing that I've always tried to hide. But love and being is being one with, or from what I've learned, even I haven't necessarily all the way moved toward putting it into practice, love and being is being one with the shadow.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
but it means everything, like you said, everything that is here is here. We're not like you're now performing actual magic, not magic tricks with like lights and mirrors and smoke. You're doing actual magic, you know? Um so I feel like that's like a huge that's the difference.
Mm. Yeah.
It's like real magic.
Well, I think, magic is historically, it's all about illusion,
Mhm.
and so like that's the thing that my fear does. Like from fear, my magic is an illusion because I don't want you to see it, or I show you what I want you to see.
Mhm.
or I avoid it and I put it over here while something else, it's all, switch of hand or whatever. But magic from love and being is just being. And it's contribution. It's influenced by generosity. It's being in service without needing expectations. All of that is an act of magic. It's all an act of it. And I think, my magic, the way that it shows up is it creates simplicity. Because from fear, my magic is super complex and there's a lot of levers and there's 3 people behind the curtain pulling on things and it's exhausting. But my magic from love and being takes 3 seconds. It's super clear and it has the impact that I desire. It's like, wow, I just got half a day back because I stopped caring about what people thought, trying to manage other people's expectations. I actually just showed up as who I am. And to be clear, it doesn't always go that way. I'm not here on my soapbox saying that like, oh, I've done all this work, so I'm up here. Like, no, I'm on the journey and I don't even know where the scale actually is. But I do know where I used to be. I do know how my fears behaved or how I behaved. Let's take ownership of that responsibility. It's coming up in a few episodes after this, how I used to behave and relate to my fears and how my actions in those moments created the results that I have, and it created the disappointment that I had. And look, my life was great. Like I don't say this to say that my life actually was bad and terrible and broken, and that only people that are in that state could benefit from this work. I think everybody needs to come home to who they are. And that's my commitment to this work. And that's why I'm a coach. And that's why I have these conversations. And that's why I work with my clients to help bring them home to who they are and inspire them with my magic to inspire their own magic. And that's what I do. So for me, one of the biggest things that I can do is actually show somebody who they are. And I don't even know exactly where I was going with this, so I won't try to fool myself or the listeners by saying that. Because sometimes I'll go there,
No, that's beautiful.
But how I'll wrap it up is that I think people will get that from listening. Being who you are outside it, being naturally who you are and relating to your fear as something that's inside of you, but it's not who you are, and accepting it as a whole allows you to be present. No more what happened in the past, no more what might possibly happen in the future, sometimes dictated by the past, but I am purposely not going to edit any silent space out of this podcast because I believe that that's what being creates. It's not concerned about being rushed on to the next thing, and it's not worried about making things sound perfect. But the beauty is actually the being inside of the space where just simply 2 people exist. And I think we've been in that place at least 3 to 4 times, I think, in this conversation. I'm really grateful for that. So it's cool because I notice in this place, even my voice sits different in my chest. It resonates in my chest a little bit differently. And I'm also not thinking. Like, I'm not thinking in this conversation. I don't even know where we're going to be in 5 seconds, but I notice that I'm a big thinker. I'm highly technical. I'm highly analytical. And as a result, I'm like, how could I plan out the rest of this episode while I'm speaking right now, which has me not here, not being connected and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to put a period there because I want to.
I loved when you were, you're like, I don't know where I'm going with this. And then, but it's interesting. And what I will point out is that everything you said was it was just so well said. You didn't need to end it necessarily. Like you didn't, you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like you didn't need to put a period on it.
Mm.
So it
Mm.
not didn't need to put a period on it, but you're like you wanted to wrap it up, and I was like,
Mm.
I was sitting with the beauty of what you said, like just the listening, and I was
Mm.
like, just keep going, just keep saying whatever you want to say. It's fine. Like
Mm. Mm.
you're in a flow, and it's beautiful. Um,
Mm.
so I just want to invite you to be okay with taking up space. You know,
Mhm.
with
Well, thanks for that reflection because something that I'm actively working on is impact by my speaking.
mm,
And 2 years ago, me um, would have the longest run on sentence known to man, to the point where I would start to create new paragraphs just so I could find a way to end. And people would check out, because I'm responsible for my impact. If you're paying attention to me, I want to be responsible for that. I am responsible for that. If you're not paying attention for me, I'm actually responsible. I'm responsible for my speaking. And so when I notice, um, I used to be completely unaware if people were paying attention, or
mm,
people, or I was connected to people, or they were connected to me. And I used to get reflections in my training program. People say, like, is your head on your body? Like where are you in this? And I used to check in and go, nope, I am clearly not here. Like my head is in the room next door. My body is here trying to communicate with these people. And what I noticed that was different in this conversation
mm,
is I didn't know where I was, but I was here. I was here and I was present. And so I knew enough to know that I wasn't here. And so that I actually got to choose in the moment. And for me, that's the work for me, because I'm a leader in this world. I'm a podcaster, I'm a coach, I'm a musician. Like for me to be present in every single one of those things and be able to separate out what's not needed in the space is something that is a gift that I am cultivating,
mm.
because I know the impact for me. And even though it has a great impact on other people, the impact that it has on me is that I'm continuously present. I'm in my body. My energy moves constantly. And I feel great.
Mm,
I'm not trying to get anywhere.
mm.
And that's been my life. I don't know if anybody listening can um, relate to that, like trying to get somewhere, or the feeling, the need, oh, I'm not there yet, or I need to get somewhere, or I got this magical vision where I'm going to be out in a castle and I'm not there yet. What's the impact on my life from feeling like I'm not there yet? Well, from fear, it creates disconnection, scarcity,
Mm,
overwhelm, burnout,
mm.
sucking all the joy out of my experience of my life.
All of that.
And all of that topped with like expired whipped cream, because it really tastes kind of crappy.
Yeah.
Wait, does whipped cream actually expire? I don't think it does.
I don't.
It's like made
I'm
of
a
so
vegan
many
for real,
preservatives.
honestly. I can't. I don't eat. Enough.
you know, I
Um,
think the invitation was to bring more of our daily lives into these conversations. I think we're
do you
doing that
eat
pretty
whipped
well.
cream? No, I'm dairy.
Yes,
I'm dairy free. Yeah, we have different. I'm dairy free,
different. Yeah.
and um, and I haven't thought of. Well, there's a lot of things that I use, like MyFitnessPal and stuff like that, to keep me in integrity with my nutrition and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I wanted to share um my when I'm in my image, my magic, my power. I would say my power, because mine is
Mm-hmm.
loving, powerful, impactful leader. My power
Yes, it is.
is manipulation when I am in protection mode, and it's manifestation, like reality altering, when I'm in love and being.
Okay.
Um,
So, can you say a little bit more? Because I think that when people hear manipulation, people are quick to say, "Oh, I don't manipulate anybody." And I'm like, God,
Yeah.
I do too. Like not intentionally, unintentionally, but as an example, how does manipulation show up for you?
Well, when I'm being in my fear around
Hmm.
what it looks like or my image or people's perceptions of me, I will either create scenarios or manipulate situations so that I can look good, so that I can be accepted. Whereas
Hmm.
when I'm in love and being, when I'm so rooted in myself and who I am, what I'm committed to, and my own love for me, it's manifestation. It creates connection. It creates inspiration. It creates, actual art. Um, and it also creates creators. Um, yeah. So that that to me, when you parallel that, I was like, wow. Um, that's a great way to put them next to each other and have it.
Hmm.
And so I'm like I want to invite people to say like, who am I in love and being? Like, what's my power? Who am I in love and being? And then who am I in my fear and scarcity?
Hmm. Yeah. And what I would say to people is if you don't know, go ask people.
Mm,
I think the biggest challenge that people have if they haven't done this kind of work, if they haven't had people reflect to them, is that they'll try to figure it out, try and get it right, which is actually just more of the fear. And what I know is that people that love you see you for who you are, and so be willing to go ask them, like, "Hey, who am I to you?" And to just sit there and have somebody reflect to them that, like, Jason, you are a loving, creative, generous, impactful story create like this is the type of human being that you
mhm,
are. um so yeah, if you're listening, go ask not just one. Here's the challenge: go ask 5 people
mm,
who you are to them, and be brave enough, one, to ask the question, and two, to sit there and accept the invitation to love, to have somebody tell you why you are important to them, what difference you make to their life, for their life, who you are to them. All of these things, you never know what's actually going to happen, but I guarantee you it will be similar to the conversation that we had here. And if you don't want more love in your life, then that's cool too. And I think it's really great and valuable to be reminded who you are from time to time.
I'm giving you that challenge. No, I'm giving us that challenge too. And we can talk about it
I'll take it on again.
vulnerability and
Yeah.
accountability. I've never done it
Yeah.
before,
Which
but
is,
yeah.
okay. Well, then I mean, I've done it and I'm totally willing to do it again. I actually do it about once a week
Oh,
with
really?
people in those moments where, oh, yeah, where I like slip and I fall into my fear and I need some love or acknowledgement. I'll actually call people up and ask them for acknowledgement or, um, who I am to them or what difference that I've made in their life. Cause it's the easiest way for me to get back to being. Telling Reflecting to somebody who they are from a pure place of love and light
Mm,
is the easiest access point to drop from here to here, and vice versa. And the great thing about it is it's just as impactful to give it
mm-hmm.
as it is to receive it.
Wow.
So that might be something to play with too, is to notice which one actually gives you more access. If you're listening, does it give me more access to my love and being um, by sharing with somebody who they are to me, or does it give me more to actually receive it? And also pay attention to which one's more comfortable. My guess, my guess is that people are more comfortable in giving it,
Mhm.
and they're less comfortable in asking for it, because uh, we're a worldwide group of people that don't ask for what they need and want and desire uh, in their lives, because nobody likes rejection. So now is an opportunity to break that up and do it. So challenge,
Yes.
if you so accept it, take it on and let us know, what you're getting. Jason, I want to hear from you too, what you get out of this exercise, and I'll do the same. Um, man, this is a conversation about magic. And I can't wait to just see what happens as a result of anybody listening to this and going out and do this. Because by you asking for someone to reflect to you who you are, or you reflecting to somebody who they are, they then go out into the next conversation. They then go to their job. They then call that customer service agent at Verizon that screwed up their phone bill, and they get to be love and being with that person. So then that person is talking to it's endless. And Jason, something you said earlier on that I really want to hit home on is that it's a choice
Yeah.
every time. So good.
Good.
Well, this was a great flow.
Yeah. I was gonna say, what are you getting from the
This is
conversation?
great.
What's your biggest takeaway?
Um, Thank you. Uh, the piece about, I think I've said it more than once about, I have no idea what I would want to have on my gravestone. Like what's the last words or something. It's like, oh, this man lived a life of who he was, you know, and this just like, I mean, I'm going to be a father. I'm going to be a grandfather. I'm going to be all of these other things. But like, I lived a life of who I am. Like, that's my commitment. And like, that's what gets to be on my gravestone. And it's going to be a really big gravestone because I want it to be
Mm,
the end. So that's what I got.
I got the same thing. I got the same thing.
Twins.
Living a life of who I am. And I actually envision like
Mm-hmm.
us both having some version of that. And also
Mm-hmm.
like our families, like us being fathers and grandfathers in our family. I'm just like the beauty. I see all of it. I visualize all of it. Um, Gentlemen living a life of who they are.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Ooh.
Ooh, juiciness.
I don't know if we're swapping out taglines, but that's really what it's about, right? That's what these pillars are set up to. Because if you operate outside of the set of values, you just have nothing to tie yourself back to. You don't have, values are important. So whether you're listening and you align 100% with the values we say of what it is to be gentlemen, or there are some other things out there that are important to you, live to your values and you will be a gentle man in this world, or gentle woman, or whatever you identify as you will be the being of love that you were intended to be. Because it's not, our values aren't necessarily the right values, but they're a place that we believe that we get to be in our power, that we get to be our truest selves when we are operating from these. So if you haven't listened to the previous episodes, please go back and do so. I think this is the sixth pillar or something like that, and we have a few more coming after this. Next one being responsibility and accountability. Um, and the previous one being passion and purpose. Ooh, the one with Shaka Smith. Yes, go back to episode 8 and listen to Passion and Purpose with Shaka Smith. But go back and listen to all of them. They're great. Really, quite honestly, not just tooting our own horn here. We believe that having these kind of impactful conversations will make a difference, and so we are committed to continue to bring them. So if you got something for yourself, write it down, share it. I think Jason's going to talk a little bit about that too. And join us next week for the continuation of Love and Being with an amazing human being, executive and leadership coach, Adam Quiney, who's the way that this man articulates some of this stuff about shadow work and what really growth and transformation is going to be. I know he's going to bring some beauty and some heat around it. So join us for that conversation too. And Jason, I'll have you take it out.
I am loving Adam's essays, by the way. I've been reading them on his website.
They're so good.
They're so good. Blue pie versus red pie is something I'm going to ask him about.
Nice.
So yeah, be sure to tune in. It's going to be really fun. And if you want to, we want to hear from you. We want you to share with us. You can email us what you got from this episode, the results of your challenge, asking 5 people what you mean to them. And that email is gentlementhepodcast@gmail.com. So we look forward to seeing you next week. And thanks for tuning in.